Albert Einstein, the lonely genius and the regret called atomic bomb. Albert Einstein carried within himself a rebellion from a novice young man who single-handedly opposed the old-fashioned ideas of modern physics and became a great scientist. At the peak of fame, but he always found himself alone. He was different from his fellow scientists and different from people living in the same country. It seems that Albert Einstein does not belong to this world. At the peak of fame, Albert Einstein always found himself alone. It seemed he did not belong to this world. Retarded boy. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879 in the city of Ulm, Baden-Württemberg, Germany. He is the first son of a Jewish family that has long settled in this area. As a child, Einstein had some outstanding characteristics that were not similar to normal boys, which were not signs of genius but the opposite. He was born with a head that was too big and was retarded in his development. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879 in the city of Ulm, Germany, into a family of Jewish origin. From the age of 3 to 9, Einstein still couldn't speak. Moreover, he just likes to be alone. The event that had a lasting impact on Einstein was when his father gave him a compass whose needle remained unchanged no matter how the compass position changed. Einstein seemed to touch the mystery of creation and had a strong impression. From the age of 3 to 9, Einstein still couldn't speak. Moreover, he just likes to be alone. Another important event happened when Einstein was 12. He received a small book on Euclidean geometry from Max Talmud. He was very impressed by the accuracy, coherence and clarity of geometric theorems. Einstein saw it as a kind of wonder of the human mind. When Einstein was 12 years old, he received a small book on Euclidean geometry from Max Talmud, which he found extremely interesting. Find your own path. Einstein was born in the decade after the unification of the German Empire, 1871, a country on its way to becoming the leading industrial power in Europe. While Germany was a promised land, Einstein, who was a rebel by nature, left at the age of 15 because he refused to conform to fixed orders. Einstein, with his rebellious nature, left Germany at the age of 15 because he refused to conform to fixed orders. Einstein was born to be a free person and accept all costs to live and think freely. He was not a product of excellent student training facilities or cramming training regimes. Einstein stands apart from all that with his self-taught mindset and infinite curiosity towards nature. That is also the path he is about to choose to enter life. Einstein was born to be a free person and accept all costs to live and think freely. Leaving Germany, Einstein enjoyed his free days and began his own scientific research in Milan. His goal is to attend ETH Technical University because this school does not require a baccalaureate degree but only requires a survey exam. Einstein also applied for the exam, but then he failed the entrance exam, forcing him to return to Aarau, a small town near Zurich, to study for a preparatory year. Leaving Germany, Einstein began his own scientific research in Milan, and then took the entrance exam to ETH Technical University. After a year of studying at Aarau, Einstein was admitted to Zurich Polytechnic School without having to pass any other exams. In the fall of 1900, he graduated from university. This was the most difficult period because he fell into unemployment. For his livelihood, Einstein had to travel everywhere looking for work. In the fall of 1900, he graduated from the University of Zurich. For his livelihood, Einstein had to travel everywhere looking for work. The turning point came for him in 1901 when, introduced by a close friend's family, Einstein was accepted as a technical examiner at the Swiss Federal Patent Department. During his time working here, he often did scientific research after hours or secretly in the office. During the 5 years from 1901 to 1905, Einstein's efforts bore fruit. He researched and established the law linking time and space. From 1901 to 1905, while working at the Swiss Patent Office, he independently researched the laws of time and space. The dawn of a new age. 1905 came to Einstein as a miracle year in the history of science. The famous German physics yearbook that year received 5 consecutive articles from him just a few months apart. Those were the 5 articles that were considered an explosive development of Einstein's creativity after 4 years of reclusion at the patent office. 1905 came to Einstein as a miracle year. He published 5 consecutive articles about his mysterious research. 5 articles quickly caused 2 major revolutions of the 20th century in worldview. The first revolution is called relativity, and the second is quantum theory. With the special theory of relativity, Einstein overthrew the concepts of time, space and energy, changing the building of classical Newtonian mechanics. A few months after the relativity paper was published, he made a particularly important new discovery: mass and energy are one and the same. 5 articles quickly caused 2 major revolutions of the 20th century: relativity and quantum theory. He wrote to a friend his thoughts after coming to this new conclusion: "I don't know if God is laughing and joking with me. God doesn't play around with Einstein. He saw the secret of God. That is the famous formula E equals mc2. Energy equals mass multiplied by the square of the speed of light. E equals mc squared. After many years of research, he saw the secret of God. That is the famous formula E equals mc2. With the general theory of relativity, also known as gravitational field theory, Einstein liberated people from the mystery and myth of space and time, gravity and the relationship between energy and mass. Since 1905, science is facing a new dawn brighter than ever. With the general theory of relativity, Einstein liberated humans from the mystery of space and time. Respected by the whole world. In May 1909, Einstein applied to resign from the patent office to take up a professor position at the University of Zurich. Although he rose to a higher position in society, he was always calm and simple. Einstein once joked, "In my theory of relativity, I have placed many clocks everywhere in the universe, but in reality, I don't have enough money to buy one to put in my room." Self. In May 1909, he took up a professorship at the University of Zurich. However, he still lived extremely sickly. In early 1914, Einstein was the youngest member to join the Universal Academy at only 35 years old. When he arrived, he enjoyed unimaginable incentives and special policies. Not only because of his scientific talent, Prussia wanted that the whole world of physics and science see Einstein's presence in Berlin as a signal of Prussia's superiority in science. In early 1914, Einstein was the youngest member to join the Universal Academy at only 35 years old. However, just a few months after Einstein moved to Berlin, World War I broke out. He is one of the very few scientists who dares to stand up and fight for peace and democracy. He was one of the first scientists to publicly denounce the Nazi regime from abroad after Hitler came to power in early 1933. However, just a few months after Einstein moved to Berlin, World War I broke out. During his time in Berlin, he continued to research the theory of general relativity and apply it to Newtonian gravity. In 1915, he completed this monumental work, and a year later it was published in the Yearbook of Physics. That is Einstein's most difficult and profound work. In 1915, he completed his research on general relativity and published it in the Yearbook of Physics. In August 1917, he reported to the Academy his next important work on cosmology. It was the work of the century for modern astronomy, built on the theory of general relativity. The equations from general relativity sparked a new period of rapid development in astronomy and radically changed human understanding of the fate of the universe. In August 1917, he reported to the Academy of Spectroscopy on the general theory of relativity, creating a premise for later changes in astronomy. The peaceful sky darkens. While humanity's scientific sky is enlightened, humanity's peaceful sky is gradually darkening. In early 1920, a haze gathered over the city of Berlin and Germany when fascist forces began to publicly denounce Einstein in an organized manner. On June 24, German Foreign Minister Walter Rathenau, a German Jew and close friend of Einstein, was assassinated by far-right forces, forewarning Einstein of the danger that could soon come to him. While humanity's scientific sky is enlightened, humanity's peaceful sky is gradually darkening because of war. Einstein was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1910 when he was 31 years old, just 5 years after the «miracle year». However, it was not until 1921 that the Nobel Committee announced its recognition of Einstein's Nobel Prize. Ironically, under pressure from opposing public opinion, the Nobel Prize Committee in Oslo only dared to award him the prize for his work on the photoelectric effect, not on the theory of relativity. Einstein was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1910 when he was 31 years old. But it was not until 1921 that he was recognized. On January 30, 1933, Hitler came to power, abolishing all civil liberties. In early March, before boarding the train from the US to Europe, Einstein announced his decision not to return to Germany. Einstein's passing means that German science has lost its spiritual leader. Germany's «golden age» in science was brutally ended. On January 30, 1933, Hitler took power, abolishing all civil liberties. In March 1933, Einstein decided not to return to Germany. Continue to search for the truth. Einstein lived all 19 years in Germany, from the time he returned to Berlin, and the remaining 22 years in Princeton, USA, the last stop in his countryless life. Einstein's final phase in Princeton, USA, was the period when he searched for a general unified field theory for gravity, general relativity, and electric waves. He hoped to thereby bring the final solution to quantum mechanics, developed by young physicists such as Bohr, Heisenberg, Born, in the years 1926–1927, which he considered incomplete. Einstein's final stage in Princeton, USA, was the stage in which he searched for a unified theory common to all. In 1935, Einstein's criticism of quantum mechanics reached its climax in a paper with two young colleagues, Boris Podolsky and Nathan Rosen, entitled, The Description of Physical Reality by Quantum Mechanics. Can be considered complete? This work is often referred to as the EPR paradox, which aims to demonstrate that the quantum mechanical description of physics is incomplete. In 1935, Einstein's criticism of quantum mechanics reached its climax in his work on the EPR paradox. But then the EPR work was forgotten by the physicists and it was only seen as an artificial experiment of Einstein's ideas to criticize quantum mechanics. 30 years later, 1964, 9 years after Einstein's death, John Bell continued Einstein's unfinished work. But then the EPR work was forgotten by the physicists and it was only seen as an artificial idea experiment of Einstein. From the original paradox, EPR then became the effect. It is in this effect that people begin to understand quantum theory and its depth. The EPR effect along with Bell's theorem caused the second revolution of quantum mechanics in the world. The EPR effect along with Bell's theorem caused the second revolution of quantum mechanics in the world. Regret called atomic bomb. From Princeton, Einstein was also constantly committed to fighting for world peace. In 1938, German physicist Otto Hahn discovered that atoms could be split into subparticles, and that fission could emit energy with tremendous power that could be calculated by the formula E equals mc2. When this news reached the United States, American scientists worried that Germany might create an atomic bomb first. In 1938, German physicist Otto Hahn discovered the principle of radiation, thereby creating an endless source of energy. On August 2, 1939, Einstein sent a letter to U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt warning of the risk that Germany might have an atomic bomb production program and suggested that the U.S. government should consider such a research plan. Position: Manhattan Project was formed with a budget of $2 billion and 130,000 participants. On August 2, 1939, Einstein sent a letter to U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt advising America to research the atomic bomb. He shared, "I was aware of the terrible risk to humanity of the success of the research to create an atomic bomb that forced me to do this. Killing in war, in my opinion, is no different from normal killing." After America dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan in August 1945, Einstein was very regretful and said, "If I had known that the Germans could not produce atomic bombs, I would not have lifted a finger." However, after America dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan in August 1945, Einstein was extremely regretful. Lonely traveler. During the last years of his life in Princeton, Einstein witnessed in America the scenes that had previously caused him to leave Germany: militarism, armed fever, McCarthyism tracking and persecuting progressive people. Limits human freedom. During the last years of his life in Princeton, Einstein witnessed the scenes that had previously caused him to leave Germany. Einstein lived alone. Wherever he was in Switzerland, Prague, Berlin or Princeton, he felt like a stranger and an outsider. In addition to the loneliness caused by science, Einstein also had the personal loneliness of a person who never completely belongs to this world. He is still a lonely traveler, without a destination on his way to find the truth. The path he takes will take him to an unknown horizon and he will be alone on it. Einstein lived alone. In addition to the loneliness caused by science, he also has the loneliness of someone who does not really belong to this world. Albert Einstein passed away on April 18, 1955. Before he died, he wrote a paper dedicating his brain to anthropologists for research. 50 years after Einstein's death and 100 years after the publication of his first theories, scientists still find many creative applications from the genius's theoretical ideas. Albert Einstein passed away on April 18, 1955. Before he died, he wrote a paper dedicating his brain to anthropologists for research. His theories are applied in computers, modern medical devices, submarine construction and space exploration. It's hard to imagine what the world would be like without Einstein. Up to now, people still cannot explain the extraordinary talent of this genius man whose inventions can be greater than the intelligence of dozens of other outstanding scientists combined. Until now, people still cannot explain the extraordinary talent of this genius. Einstein's only failure so far is that he could not complete the so-called unified theory of everything, combining the theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. The scientist struggled with that project for the last 30 years of his life, and even when he was on the brink of death, he could not leave his paper and pencil. Right before he breathed his last, Einstein said, "Physicists consider me a stupid old man. But I know that the future of physics will develop in a different way." Einstein's only failure so far is that he could not complete the so-called unified theory of everything, combining the theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. Difficult marriage. Despite his successful career, Einstein's personal life was quite messy. During his life, he had 2 wives, the first of which was Mileva Maric, a native of Serbia who was 4 years older than him. According to her son and some relatives of both, it was Mrs. Mileva who supported and played a big role in helping Einstein discover the theory of relativity. During his life, he had 2 wives, the first of which was Mileva Maric, a native of Serbia who was 4 years older than him. When Einstein made great strides in his career and was respected, his family relationship began to crumble. In 1911, Einstein still sent his wife emotional postcards, but just 1 year later, he began an affair with a distant cousin named Elsa Lowenthal. During that time, Einstein moved to many different places and then to Berlin to be close to his lover. When Einstein made great strides in his career and was respected, his family relationship began to crumble. After a few years of suffering, Mrs. Mileva decided to take her 2 children back to Switzerland in mid-1914. In 1919, she agreed to divorce on the condition that if Mr. Einstein was awarded the Nobel Prize, she would be the one to receive the prize money. The separation greatly affected the 2 children they shared. Returning to Einstein in 1919, he married his cousin Elsa and lived with her until her death in 1936. After a few years of suffering, Mileva took her 2 children back to Switzerland in mid-1914. In 1919, he married his cousin Elsa. There are still many things the world today must continue to do as a tribute to an outstanding scientist. Just a simple equation that helps small people have the ability to take over the entire universe. Albert Einstein, with his invention, has become the most magnificent symbol of man's indomitable will on the path to understanding and conquering the world. Albert Einstein with his invention has become the most magnificent symbol of human indomitable will.